Hi from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. US House clears bill requiring weapons shipments to Israel. Gaza fire establishes in attempt to boost humanitarian aid. Suspect in the attack on Slovak Prime Minister charged with attempted murder. Slovak Prime Minister Fico in serious but stable condition. Dow Jones Industrial Average crosses 40,000 level for the first time on hopes of US interest rate cuts and strong earnings, although early gains dissipated later with three major indices closing slightly lower. In sports, world number one Iga Swiatek speeds past Coco Gauff to reach third Italian Open final. Will clash with world number two Aryna for the title on Saturday. And legendary director Francis Ford Coppola's long-awaited passion project Megalopolis premieres at the Cannes Film Festival. Coppola running for the Palme d'Or for the first time since winning it in 1979. Let's get you updates on Israel-Hamas conflict. The US House of Representatives passed a bill on Thursday that would push President Joe Biden to send weapons to Israel. The Israel Security Assistance Support Act was approved 224 to 187, largely along the party lines. 16 Democrats also joined most Republicans in voting a yes. The act would prevent Biden from freezing any congressionally approved military aid to Israel, including 3,500 to 2,000 pound and 500-pound bombs that he has put on hold. Republicans accuse Biden of turning his back on Israel after facing widespread protests. Republicans say Biden has no right to interfere with Israel's military campaign. Democrats also accuse the other party of playing politics, saying Republicans are distorting Biden's position on Israel. Israel has vowed on Thursday to intensify its ground offensive in Rafah. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said that the military would send more troops into Rafah. Following a troop visit in Rafah on Wednesday, Gallant said that hundreds of targets have already been struck and Israeli forces are maneuvering in the area. The Israeli Defense Minister also said that additional forces will enter Rafah area and this activity will intensify in the coming days. Also, fighting rages on in northern Gaza, where Hamas has regrouped. Heavy battles rocked in Jabalia, where military spokesman Nadav Shoshani said that there had been intelligence indicating that Hamas was trying to reassemble its forces. The army said that 5 of its soldiers were killed in Jabalia on Wednesday when 2 Israeli tanks mistakenly shelled the building they were in. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has told his Israeli counterpart Yoav Gallant that civilians must be protected before any Rafah operation. The Pentagon said on Thursday that U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, in a phone call with Israeli Minister of Defense Yoav Gallant, reinforced the unquestionable necessity of protecting civilians and ensuring uninterrupted flow of humanitarian aid before any potential military operation in Rafah. The United States anchored a temporary floating pier to a beach in Gaza on Thursday to boost aid deliveries. The floating platform is ready to receive the first shipments of aid from a staging post in Cyprus, 200 miles to the north. U.S. officials say the first 500 tons of assistance will arrive soon, with more thousands to follow. By opening a route to deliver aid by sea, the U.S. hopes to combat the humanitarian crisis that has put hundreds of thousands of people at risk of famine. But the UN and humanitarian agencies say that there were challenges still to be resolved. The United Nations said on Thursday that it was still finalizing its operational plans to handle the distribution of aid once it comes off the pier. The United Nations stressed that delivering aid by land was the most viable, effective and efficient method.
we are finalizing our operational plans to make sure that we're ready to handle aid once the floating dock is properly functioning, while ensuring the safety of our staff. Community awareness and acceptance is paramount to ensure the safety and security of this operation. We're grateful for the efforts of Cyprus, supported by other member states, to sustain the maritime corridor as an additional route for aid to Gaza. And of course, we're thankful to the US for all the work they've done in creating the floating dock. However, getting aid to people in need into and across Gaza cannot and should not depend on a floating dock far from where needs are most acute. Land routes are the most viable, effective, and efficient aid delivery method, which is why we need all crossing points to be opened.
South Africa urged the UN's top court on Thursday to order a halt to Israel's offensive on Rafah, saying the attacks on the southern Gaza city must be stopped to ensure the survival of the people in Gaza. South Africa's ambassador to the Netherlands asked judges to order Israel to immediately, totally and unconditionally withdraw the Israeli army from entirety of the Gaza Strip. South Africa also asked the World Court to order Israel to allow unimpeded access to Gaza for UN officials, organizations providing humanitarian aid, journalists and investigators. South Africa was presenting arguments in support of its request for additional emergency measures on Thursday. Israel, which has denounced South Africa's claim that it is violating the 1949 Convention as baseless, will respond on Friday. In previous filings, it stressed that it had stepped up efforts to get humanitarian aid into Gaza, as the International Court of Justice had ordered. The hearings at the International Court of Justice came after South Africa last week asked for additional emergency measures to protect Rafah. Israel plans to abolish its free trade agreement with Turkey and also impose a 100% tariff on other imports from Turkey. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich on Thursday said that the action is in retaliation for Turkish President Erdogan's decision to halt exports to Israel. The plan would be submitted to the cabinet for approval soon. Earlier this month, Turkey said that it was stopping exports to Israel during the duration of the Israel-Hamas conflict. But the Turkish Trade Ministry has said that companies have 3 months to fulfill existing orders via third countries. Finance Minister Smotrich, however, said that Israel's actions would only last as long as Erdogan remained in power. An immediate ceasefire, deployment of peacekeepers and a lasting two-state solution are the demands of the Arab League. Leaders met in Bahrain on Thursday to try to draft an end to the war in Gaza and create sustainable peace. From Baghdad in Iraq, Stuart Smith has more for us.
Opening the summit on Thursday, Bahrain's King Hamad said the meeting took place amid painful and unprecedented circumstances. The 22-member group agreed that an end to the war in Gaza must begin with a peace conference, which they hope would result in a ceasefire before international recognition of a Palestinian state, with East Jerusalem as its capital. To that end, Bahrain, with Spain, is hoping to launch an international peace conference in the coming months that would rebuild international momentum, they say, to revive the two-state solution. Leaders acknowledged it's the United Nations Security Council that must contribute to make that happen and that a concrete timeline is necessary. But officials believe a recent vote at the United Nations General Assembly, which saw 143 members vote for full Palestinian statehood, might help put pressure on Washington.
We gather as hearts are breaking for Palestinians in Gaza. The war in Gaza is an open wound that threatens to infect the entire region. In its speed and scale, it is the deadliest conflict in my time as Secretary General for civilians, aid workers, journalists and our own UN colleagues.
At the summit, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said the US must stop using its veto against what he called the international consensus.
Even that this government was welcomed by the world, I did not get any financial support as it was expected. Israel continues to block our money, which put us in a very critical situation.
In a joint communique after the conference, Arab heads of state and government also called for the Israeli military to leave Gaza and demanded an international investigation into recent attacks against humanitarian aid trucks heading there. The Arab states are now calling for United Nations peacekeepers to be deployed to Gaza until, they say, a two-state solution is realised. But some members of the Arab League more closely aligned to the US, like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, are keen not to deploy military forces themselves. Next year's summit will be hosted here in Iraq. Stuart Smith in Baghdad, reporting for DD India.
Iraq has now officially requested United Nations Security Council to cancel the UN mission in the country. Addressing the council on Thursday, Iraq's ambassador asked that the UN wrap up its operations by the end of 2025. At the same time, the UN reported that significant strides have been made, signalling that Iraq is on the rise. Jody Jacobs gets us more from the United Nations in New York.
In her report to the UN Security Council, Janine Hennis-Plasschaert, the special representative of the United Nations Secretary General to Iraq, said that the country was a nation brimming with potential but still haunted by legacies of past turmoil. Hennis-Plasschaert, in her report, said that she acknowledged that corruption, factionalism, impunity and armed actors remained significant hurdles for the country. The senior UN official expressed worry over a recent increase in unannounced executions under anti-terrorism laws, adding that the fundamental rights and freedoms of all Iraqis are yet to be fully safeguarded. Security Council members welcomed the developments in Iraq and commended the broader efforts by the government to strengthen public institutions and ensure political stability. In his address to the Council, the Iraqi ambassador to the UN reiterated his country's request that the UN's assistance mission for Iraq must conclude its mission by December 31st, 2025, saying until then it must ensure it completes its outstanding work with regards to economic reform, service delivery, sustainable development and climate change. Iraq has now officially requested the Security Council to pass a resolution to respond to the Iraqi government's appeal. Meanwhile, the United States made it clear that the UN should continue to be involved in efforts to resolve all outstanding issues in Iraq, adding that it remains committed to working with the government of Iraq to strengthen and deepen a partnership that fosters a, quote, secure, stable and sovereign Iraq. Jody Jacobs in New York, reporting for DD India.
Russia and China have announced that they will deepen their already close ties as Russian president is paying a state visit to China. On Thursday, the two sides celebrated the 75th anniversary of formal China-Russia relations, with President Putin raising the warm and comradely talks with Xi Jinping. Dasha Chernyshova spells out more from Moscow.
As Russian President Vladimir Putin is on a state visit to China, he says Moscow's practical cooperation with Beijing has reached impressive results. He stressed the importance of energy in bilateral cooperation, with Russia being a reliable energy supplier for the growing Chinese economy. Putin said in 2023, supplies of Russian oil, gas and coal to China achieved a record level. But as bilateral trade reached $240 billion last year, Putin noted development of other areas of cooperation, such as industry, agriculture. He said the two had plans to deepen ties in high technologies and innovation, as well as space, nuclear energy and transport infrastructure construction.
The Russia-China relationship is not a temporary expedient and does not target any third party. Our cooperation in international affairs is one of the main stabilizing factors in the international arena today.
The two sides held talks in different formats, with delegations and tete-a-tete. Moscow and Beijing criticized the Western initiatives to seize assets and property of foreign countries and discussed international agenda, including the conflict in Ukraine. Putin arrived in Beijing early on Thursday for talks, and the two leaders signed an agreement to deepen mutual ties. Dasha Chernyshova reported in Moscow for DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico's condition critical but stable after surviving an assassination attempt. A Vietnamese leader from the ruling Communist Party expelled from its elite Politburo over violations and wrongdoings. Why? Stay with us to get the details. And satellite trackers help endangered turtles survival in Thailand's Phuket. How? We tell you ahead.
Versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's continue getting you more international updates. Donald Trump's defense lawyer on Thursday accused Michael Cohen, the trial's key witness, as an unrepentant liar and suggested that he fabricated testimony. Michael Cohen will be back for a fourth day on the stand when the trial resumes on Monday, setting the stage for closing arguments. On Thursday, he was accused by the defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, about his history of lying, his criminal record, and testimony that the defense called bogus. Blanche repeatedly attacked the credibility of Cohen, whose testimony about $130,000 hush money payment to an adult star and his reimbursement by Donald Trump underpinned the 34 felony counts against the former president. The New York case, one of the 4 criminal prosecutions he faces, is likely to be the only one with a jury verdict before November 5th election rematch with President Biden.
Well, thank you very much. I think it was a very interesting day. It was a fascinating day. And it shows what a scam this whole thing is. I didn't violate any law. It was a scam. This case, it was going to be brought, which it should have never been brought, should have been brought 7 or 8 years ago. They didn't do that because they wanted to bring it right in the middle of the election, and especially since we're leading in every poll.
China's Coast Guard reported on Thursday that its authorities had expelled a fleet of Philippine vessels illegally gathering in the waters near South China Sea earlier in the day. It monitored the fleet of Philippine vessels that illegally gathered in waters adjacent to the Huangyan Island and that were carrying out activities unrelated to normal fishing operations. Since its discovery, it lawfully and properly regulated and expelled Philippine vessels while collecting necessary evidence. All right, Laura is joining us to get us more. Laura, good morning. Given the already tense situation between China and Philippines, how significant could this development be, and also what could be the repercussions?
Yes, this seems to be a deliberate ploy by this Philippine civilian-led mission that they wanted to reaffirm their presence in these disputed waters. They included around 100 small fishing boats as well as other vessels, and they were sailing towards the Scarborough Shoal. Now, this is a key flashpoint between China and the Philippines. It's a prime fishing patch. It's within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, but it's also claimed by China. Now, organizers said that they had to turn back because of the presence of Chinese vessels. According to the Philippines, there were around 19 Chinese vessels following them, as well as a Chinese Navy warship. But organizers said a smaller group of boats that went ahead a day ahead were able to resupply fishermen who are anchored in this shoal. And they said that this was more than just a resupply mission. It was about reaffirming their presence in these waters and indeed along the way, these fishing boats dropped these buoys in the waters with the words, "This is ours." So that is really a clear message to Beijing that they wanted to send. And Beijing has responded, and it said that this is a deliberate provocation by the Philippines, and has warned the Philippines to turn back its course, or there will be countermeasures.
All right, Laura, also acquaint us with the geographical details of Huangyan Island. Help us understand what is the bone of contention between China and Philippines in this particular region.
Yes, so this shoal is one of a few flashpoints between the area. China has claimed this shoal since 2012. In 2016, there was an international court ruling that said that this should be open to everyone, but Beijing doesn't believe that. And so you have seen an increasingly assertive Philippines under the President Marcos, and that comes with the backing of the United States. He has more frequently reasserted the Philippines' claims to this disputed shoal, as well as other parts of the South China Sea that the Philippines has claims to. And Beijing, in turn, has also increased its patrols of these areas. Beijing claims nearly all the South China Sea. And so in recent months, even 2 weeks ago, we saw the Chinese Coast Guard fire water cannon at the Philippines Coast Guard, damaging some of these ships. And so there have been more frequent encounters between these two sides. The United States has also weighed in, with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying on a recent trip to China that freedom of navigation in this very strategic area of the South China Sea, more than trillions of US dollars of trade pass through it every year. He said that was crucial, and he also affirmed his ironclad support of the Philippines. So the worry for people in the region, as well as indeed the world, is that these increasingly combative encounters between these two sides could escalate further.
All right, Laura, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. Let's turn focus to Vietnam now. Thong Thi Mai, one of the most senior members of Vietnam's ruling Communist Party, has been removed from its elite Politburo due to violations and wrongdoings. Mai was the only female in the Politburo, the most powerful decision-making body in Vietnam, which now has only 12 of its 18 statutory members. Mai's removal would be the latest upheaval in Vietnam's top ranks following the exit since March of both the National Assembly chairman and the state president, two of the country's 4 pillars of leadership. Mai ranks 5th in Vietnam's political hierarchy, and with her departure, only 2 of the top 5 leaders are still in their jobs, including the party chief and the prime minister. All right, Chris Gilbert is joining us from Tokyo to spell out more details. Chris, good morning. Thong Thi Mai is the 3rd top official to exit the Politburo in 2 months. Help us understand this development better.
Yeah, well, I think you've summarized the story very nicely. You know, there are just 2 of the top 5 officials in the only party ruling Vietnam still in their positions. It's continuing a trend of high turnover inside the party over the last few years. As you mentioned, the chairman and the president have both resigned just in the last month, and now Thong Thi Mai along with them, as you said, for allegations of wrongdoing and violations. No further details at the moment about what exactly those violations or wrongdoings may have been, but experts are pointing out that this high turnover seems to have started about 8 years ago in 2016, when a strong anti-corruption campaign began inside the Vietnamese government. It's called Blazing Furnace, and the UN pointed out just last year that about 90% of land certificate applications in Vietnam were accompanied by some sort of bribe. And there's also expert commentary that this may be creating an opening for some factions within the ruling and only party in Vietnam to potentially exploit the situation for political gain. There have been 3 prime ministers in the last couple of years. There have been 6 since presidents, excuse me. There have been 6 presidents since 2016. There is a caretaker president yet again at the moment, and the situation is looking unstable.
All right, the situation is looking unstable, but of late we've seen the escalating anti-corruption campaign in Vietnam. Chris, is Vietnam's corruption crackdown rattling the Communist Party? How would you gauge that?
Well, there is, of course, the ongoing process at the moment for job applications that need to be filled and are going to be filled. Political scientists are saying that this won't necessarily change party policy, this internal elbowing. Although, Vietnam has traditionally been a very stable country, and there are certainly lots of foreign investors who would like it to continue to be so. Foreign investment in Vietnam is higher than the country's own GDP. It's become a major manufacturing hub in the region for companies like Samsung and Apple. And not only that, but it follows a path of bamboo diplomacy, a kind of a middleman between the eastern and western blocks of the world, or more specifically the US and China. And so there are many interested parties hoping that the situation rectifies itself. As I say, there are 4 positions looking to be filled at the moment inside that top 18, and the government is looking to vote on those replacements on Monday.
All right, Chris, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. The man who opened fire on Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico and critically injured him has been charged with attempted murder. Fico was hit multiple times in an attempt on his life that shook Slovakia and reverberated across the continent weeks before the European elections.
Slovak's Interior Minister Matas Sutaj Astok said a man has been charged with attempted murder who did not belong to any political group. The suspect acted alone and had taken part in anti-government protests.
I want to confirm that today the police are working with only one version of the attack, that the perpetrator is currently charged with the premeditated crime of the attempt murder, that we are working with only one version, that it was a politically motivated act.
President-elect Peter Pellegrini, speaking at a news conference, said that Prime Minister Fico remains in a serious but stable condition and is able to speak a little.
He is able to speak but only few sentences, and then he's really tired because he's under some medication, so of course it is very difficult for him. But I had the chance that I came in the right moment when he was able to speak with me few sentences, but the situation is very critical and we have to give him a lot of energy and think and be positive.
Slovak news media have said the shooter is a 71-year-old former security guard at a shopping mall and author of 3 collections of poetry. There has been no official confirmation of his identity as yet. Police gave no details about their investigation but said they had boosted security at Slovakia's parliament and also around media offices and schools. Earlier on Wednesday, Sutaj Astok told a news conference that the attack was politically motivated. The shooting was the first major assassination attempt on European political leader for more than 20 years and has drawn international condemnation. Bureau Report, DD India.
Off the shore of Thailand's resort island Phuket, marine conservationists are releasing 11 baby leatherback sea turtles into the ocean. Each one has a little satellite tag attached to their backs to monitor their progress in the wild as a conservation effort to try to boost the endangered species' chance of survival. The World Wildlife Fund says this type of turtle has an estimated population of fewer than 2,300 adult females in the region. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, political leaders spread it out across the nation to woo the voters ahead of the fifth phase polling scheduled on 20th of May. And Mumbai hoarding crash accused held after being on the run for 3 days.
We are in Cannes, the famous city on the French Riviera. The 77th edition of the Cannes Film Festival is here. So soak into 12 days of world cinema and the hottest fashion trends. The famous 24 steps leading to the Palais des Festivals, where most of the cinema at this festival is screened, are beckoning. Join me, Munmun Bhattacharya, as I take you through all the buzz around the festival and on India's participation in it, only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. A quick relook at the top stories once again. US House clears bill requiring weapons shipments to Israel. Gaza fire established in an attempt to boost humanitarian aid. Suspect in the attack on Slovak Prime Minister charged with attempted murder. Slovak Prime Minister in serious but stable condition. Dow Jones Industrial Average crosses 40,000 level for the first time on hopes of US interest rate cuts and strong earnings, although early gains dissipated later with three major indices closing slightly lower. And world number one, Iga Swiatek sweeps past Coco Gauff to reach third Italian Open final, will clash with world number two Aryna Sabalenka for the title on Saturday. Legendary director Francis Ford Coppola's long-awaited passion project Megalopolis premieres at the Cannes Film Festival. Coppola running for the Palme d'Or for the first time since winning it in 1979. All right, now we'll get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election that's currently on in India. Campaigning is in full swing ahead of the fifth phase of polling on May 20th in India's general elections 2024. Leaders of various parties are leaving no stone unturned to woo the voters in their favour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold election rallies in North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. He will be visiting Barabanki, Fatehpur and Hamirpur constituencies today. Later, he will also address a public rally in Mumbai's South Central Lok Sabha constituency in the western state of Maharashtra. Also, Indian Union Minister and Bharatiya Janata Party's senior leader Amit Shah will also campaign in Uttar Pradesh's Amethi. Shah will also address a public meeting in Rourkela in eastern state of Odisha. He will also go to Jharkhand's capital Ranchi. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will address a public rally in Uttar Pradesh's Balia. BJP President JP Nadda will campaign in Odisha's Kantabanji. Former Congress President Sonia Gandhi will address a rally in Uttar Pradesh's Raebareli with Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi and Samajwadi Party's chief Akhilesh Yadav. The All India Majlis-e-Ittihadul Muslimin or AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi will also address a public meeting in Uttar Pradesh's Kaushambi in support of PDM or Pichra Dalit Muslim Nyay Morcha candidate Narendra Kumar Saroj from Kaushambi today. All right, let's get you a sense of the political temperatures across different parts of the country. Ashutosh Mishra is joining us from Odisha. Salman Hadir is joining us from Patna in Bihar, and Gautam is joining us from Leh. Good morning, all of you. Thank you for joining in on DD India News Hour. Gautam, first I'll come across to you. Let us get an overview of the political contest that is to be witnessed in Leh Ladakh. Though we've seen we've seen reports of yours wherein you talk of the issues, but what is it that makes the election special in Leh Ladakh?
Well, good morning, Preeti, or as they say, Chule in Ladakh. I'm at the moment in Kargil, which is a little over 200 kilometers away from Leh, and is the second district. Leh is one district, and Kargil is the other district of this particular region, this single parliamentary seat that is going to poll on the 20th of this month. And the politics, the demography is very different in these two regions. One where I am in Kargil is Muslim dominated, and in Leh it's Buddhist dominated. So that has led to different sort of politics shaping up this time around, because what has happened is that the BJP and the Congress, along with the National Conference, which is the Kashmir party, have given a candidate each from Leh. And earlier the impression was that the India Alliance, which is primarily Congress and NC here, would be giving a candidate from Kargil, but that did not happen. So an NC leader rebelled against his party, and he's become independent. And even the units, the local units of the Kargil units of the NC and the Congress are supporting him. So it's become a tri-cornered contest, triangular contest, and it is a fight for each of them. The BJP has been giving it all its central leaders, such as Kiran Rijiju and General V.K. Singh, former Army Chief, former Union Minister of State for External Affairs, have been here campaigning for the BJP. The BJP, after the abrogation of Article 370, has done a lot of work here as well. It's visible. The roads, the health facilities, the education facilities, bid to go carbon neutral, that is taking shape here. But the people here in Ladakh have other stronger aspirational, regional aspirations, because what they were seeking was statehood. They were seeking that there should be 2 parliamentary seats, one for Kargil, one for Ladakh. They have they have a long list. It's a 4-point agenda, because after the breakup of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, there are certain things that Ladakhi are feeling that they lack. Avenues for jobs, because J&K was a larger state, and people could find jobs throughout the entire state. There is no State Public Service Commission now, since it's a union territory, so that is an issue for them. And similar issues are there, and these are what are really coming across very strongly in these elections. And each of these parties is promising that the people's aspirations will be fulfilled. Right now, the Model Code of Conduct is on. The BJP has been in dialogue. The government has been dialoguing the center with the people here to see how their needs could be fulfilled. The BJP has time and again said that the statehood of J&K could be restored, but that can only take shape after the elections, depending on who wins.
Yes, depending on who wins. From here in, I'll bring in Ashutosh Mishra, who is joining us from Odisha. Ashutosh, good morning. You help us understand the political contest. How is the state poised when we talk of people voting for their favorite candidates? Let us understand more from you on the permutations and combinations in the state of Odisha.
Good morning. Yeah, the contest in Orissa is very interesting this time. We have 21 Lok Sabha seats in Orissa, and out of these, BJP at the moment is holding 8. The ruling Biju Janata Dal, led by Naveen Patnaik, has 12 seats. Congress has 1. In the next round, 5 seats will be going to polls, and these 5 seats, 3 are being held by BJP, 2 by BJD. And most of these seats are in Western Orissa, which is an area where BJP is considered to be very strong. Prime Minister Narendra Modi this time seems to be taking personal interest in the state. And the state, in fact, is part of BJP's or NDA's Look East policy. The state has always been very important for the BJP. Prime Minister held a road show in Bhubaneswar a few days ago. He has held at least 4 rallies. He'll be coming again to Puri to hold a road show on 20th. So the state is very important politically. And this time there is a fierce battle taking place between BJP and BJD, the erstwhile allies, but they are now contesting separately. They had tried to revive that alliance before the polls, but somehow it did not work out. So again, they are facing each other as rivals. And this rivalry is very keen at the time. Congress is trying to make the contest triangular, but Congress doesn't have that kind of strength. So it will be mainly a battle between BJP and BJD. And both the sides are leaving no stones unturned to ensure that they get an emphatic victory. And that is why these elections are very important. And the turnout in the first round in the state was very, very healthy. It was above 75%, despite the heat and despite everything. So, and this time also, the turnout is expected to be very high. So the state is very important. The contestants are there. They are leaving nothing to chance. They are doing everything to ensure an outright victory. And it will be a very, very interesting contest to see.
All right. So political leaders are leaving no stone unturned to the voters. I'll bring in Salman Haider, who is joining us from Bihar's Patna. Good morning, Salman. How do you gauge the political temperament in the state of Bihar? Help us understand the political contest. What are the aspirations of the people there?
Very good morning, Preeti. The weathermen have predicted rise in temperature here as far as the weather is concerned, but political temperature is also rising as Prime Minister has already addressed 11 rallies here, and he is again scheduled to address rallies in West Champaran and Siwan districts for 6th phase on 21st May. And other star leaders, star campaigners of various parties are campaigning day and night. And this morning, I will tell you an interesting story that I was on morning walk in a park here in Patna, where Ravi Shankar Prasad, who is candidate of BJP from Patna Sahib, was also there to meet and greet the people and to woo, of course, to woo the voters. So campaigning is in full swing for 5th phase, which is going to polls on 20th, next 20th May. So all the candidates and their party workers are out in the field to campaign for their favorite candidates. On the other hand, the public gathering is in all the meetings is somewhat low here due to high temperature. But people are even keeping their fingers crossed as to who will be the winner. On almost all the seats, as far as Bihar is concerned, 21 seats are to go for polls in next 3 phases. The people are very much somewhere enthusiastic. The Prime Minister has also held on 12th May a road show in Patna. So political weather is political temperature is mounting up very much. Yes,
all
Preeti.
Right. Political temperatures are also rising and at the peak in all these areas. Thank you so much, all three of you, for joining us this morning on DD India News Hour. All right, let's turn focus to other updates. Related to elections only, now the Bongaon Lok Sabha constituency in Bengal would be a litmus test for Bharatiya Janata Party on the issue of CAA. Bordering Bangladesh, Bongaon has a long history of migration of people from the other side of the barbed wired fence. This seat is also crucial for Trinamool Congress given their strong anti-CAA stance. But which way is the wind blowing in Bongaon? Let's take a look at the special report filed by our correspondent Dibendu Mondal from the region.
Politics of the Bongaon Lok Sabha constituency flows from here. This particular Thakurnagar Thakurbari has been the center of politics of the Bongaon Lok Sabha over the last 1 decade. This time around, how the politics of this particular Lok Sabha is shaping up, let's find out. Bongaon is a battleground for the Bharatiya Janata Party. At the heart of this political saga lies the Citizenship Amendment Act, which promises to grant legal citizenship to the Matua community. With the notification of the rules of CAA, the BJP is positioning itself as the beacon of hope for the Matuas. The ruling Trinamool Congress, however, is facing an uphill task to reclaim the seat which once was theirs. But Mathuas are elated. They call it a new dawn. CAA has created a sense of euphoria amongst the community here. They pin their hope on the BJP.
After a long struggle for decades, we have got our dutiful right to be a formal citizen of India. We thank Prime Minister Modi for granting us this Indian citizenship. All the Mathuas are with the BJP.
The BJP has also once again pinned its hope on the All India President of the Mathua Mahasangh, Shantanu Thakur from Bangaon, whereas the TMC has fielded a non-Mathua, Bishwajit Das, to take on the BJP. But here, the sentiments seem to be with the BJP for fulfilling their long-standing demand and recognizing their decades-long struggle. They call it their second independence.
The youth are also with the BJP. We supported the BJP in 2019 and Modi ji fulfilled his guarantee of granting us Indian citizenship. We are with Shantanu Thakur. We will make him win this time also with more than 2 lakh votes.
Bangaon, situated on the banks of the river Ichamati, is one of the key parliamentary constituencies in Bengal. The Mathuas, a Hindu refugee community who migrated from the neighboring Bangladesh in batches since 1947, fearing religious persecution, constitutes over 40% of the electorate here. The Mathuas, who are designated as scheduled castes, hold a massive political sway here. The BJP wrested this seat from the TMC in 2019. It is making every effort to win this seat with a record margin this time.
As the campaigning continues here in Bengal's Bangaon Lok Sabha constituency, political parties are making all efforts to woo the voters. But of course it will be these people and the voters of this constituency that will decide who they would elect and send to the Parliament of India from here in Bangaon. With camera person PK, this is Divyendu Mondal from Bangaon in West Bengal for DD India.
The Mumbai Police Crime Branch arrested the owner of Ego Media, Bhavesh Bhide, in Ghatkopar hoarding collapse case on Thursday. The accused was arrested from Udaipur. He has been brought to Mumbai for further procedures. BMC officials meanwhile said that the Mumbai-based Technological Institute, which has been asked to find out the reasons behind the collapse, is expected to submit its report within 7 days. The hoarding collapse left 16 people dead and 75 injured. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, almost after a decade, actors Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx are reuniting for a Netflix action comedy this year. In IPL, Sunrisers Hyderabad becomes the third team to qualify for the playoffs. The Olympic torch relay pierces through the walled French city of Carcassonne.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Let's get you some entertainment updates now. Yes, we'll get you more updates from Cannes. To spell out more details, legendary director Francis Ford Coppola's long-awaited passion project, Megalopolis, premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. The Oscar-winning director of The Godfather is in the running for the Palme d'Or for the first time since Apocalypse Now netted him the top prize in 1979. Attesting to Coppola's cachet, even the supporting cast is particularly well stocked with famous names such as Shia LaBeouf, Aubrey Plaza Lawrence Fishburne and Dustin Hoffman. DD India's Munmun Bhattacharya spoke to Alan McCallex, the Indian producer of Sister Midnight and Santosh. Now, both the films are in official selection for Cannes Film Festival this year. Let's listen in.
Joining me in Cannes is Alan McCallex. He is the Indian producer of Santosh as well as Sister Midnight, both of which are official selections from India in the Cannes Film Festival this year. Such a pleasure to have you, Alan, on DD India. Tell us about your experience producing both these projects.
To start with Santosh, in fact, when the script was in the Sundance Script Lab, I believe Paul Featherbush at the Institute had pitched the story. But that time I was quite burnt out with producing quite a few of independent films. I did quite a bit then in 2016. And then Sandhya managed to get an UK producer and they reached out to me. I realized it was such a powerful script and I just said yes. I said yes, I'll do it. Let's do it. And that's what happened in 2022 is when we said yes.
What I found quite interesting is that both these movies have taken benefit of the incentive scheme of the Government of India. So tell us, how did that happen and what are the incentives that these two films enjoy?
Yeah. Yes, the incentive was announced in May 2022 out here in Cannes. Since the budget was quite tight, we didn't want to cut the budget, so we took a risk of using certain expenses deferred on the incentive. And yes, we finally got money on both the projects. And thanks to NFDC, the Film Facilitation Office and the Ministry of Information and Broadcast, they made it all seamless.
There you heard from the horse's mouth itself from an Indian film producer on how they have benefited from an incentive scheme that has been offered by the Government of India in 2022, and both the projects, Santosh as well as Sister Midnight, which are part of official selections, have actually benefited from that incentive scheme. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Munmun Bhattacharya from Cannes for DD India.
Actors Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx are reuniting for a Netflix action comedy this year, marking a decade since the former last appeared on screen in the 2014 musical drama Annie. Some production stills from Back in Action were released on Thursday, which show Diaz and Foxx in action. Diaz plays a retired CIA spy with a family who is dragged back into the world of espionage after her cover is blown, along with fellow ex-spy and spouse Foxx. On to business updates now. The Dow Jones reached an all-time high of 40,000 for the first time on Thursday. The blue chip index has recovered from its October 2022 lows, powered by resilient U.S. economic growth despite steep rate hikes by the Fed. Also, all three Wall Street indices had reached record closes on Wednesday after the data showed a smaller than expected rise in consumer prices in April. Investors are betting on 2 quarter-point interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve this year and estimate a 70% chance of the first reduction in September. Up next, we get you updates from the world of sports now. World number 1 Iga Swiatek marched into her third Italian Open final as she beat American third seed Coco Gauff 6-4, 6-3 in the first semi-final on Thursday. Following her 11th straight win on clay, Swiatek could become only the third player in history to win the Madrid-Rome doubles after Dinara Safina in 2009 and Serena Williams in 2030. Meanwhile, another semi-final match, world number 2 Aryna Sabalenka put away American 13 seed Danielle Collins 7-5, 6-2 to book a place in the Italian Open final. This will be the 5th time Sabalenka and Swiatek meet in a final, all of which have been on clay. In IPL, Sunrisers Hyderabad became the third team to qualify for the playoffs after their match against Gujarat Titans was abandoned without loss due to incessant rain. The Pat Cummins-led side reached 15 points in 13 games after its match got washed out due to rain in Hyderabad. The Olympic torch relay on Thursday pierced through the walled French city of Carcassonne, famous for its medieval citadel and watchtowers. French Paralympic long jumper Dimitri Pavadi and singer Olivia Ruiz participated in the 8th leg of the relay. which ended in Carcassonne, where enthusiastic spectators cheered and waved flags. All right, with this, we end this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code up your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.